Israel is a unique country with many controversies and important global events. Despite its small population and territory, Israel occupies a special position in human history, being the sacred place of three main monotheistic religions in the world: Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. It is also one of the most powerful and rapidly developing countries, with many important contributions in science and technology, while remaining at the center of a long-running regional conflict. Today, we'll explore life in the country, learn about Jewish customs and traditions, things to avoid when you visit, places to visit, and much more. 1. Israel is one of the youngest sovereign states in the world, and its formation is based on one of the most ancient documents collected in the Old Testament. Israel declared independence in 1948 following the Arab-Israeli War the same year. After the end of World War I, Palestine emerged on territory where Muslims and Jews lived together, but conflicts continued until the end of the war in 1948. This was also the time of the Nakba, or the Palestinian Exodus, began, and since then, the conflict between these two countries has continued. The Palestinian state has international recognition and is located in two areas: the West Bank and Gaza Strip, adjacent to Israel. 2. Israel is the only Jewish state in the world and one of the most successful for many reasons. First, a significant Jewish community emerged in 586 BC during the Babylonian exile, after the Babylonians conquered the kingdom of Judah. Some Jews were deported and enslaved, becoming a minority in the countries where they lived, which pushed them to excel. As a minority, they built a strong social network to support each other in personal and professional prosperity. They are always ready for war due to external threats, and because they have few natural resources, they focus on education and human development, like Japan, Taiwan, or Singapore. Finally, given its small territory, Israel has a high concentration of talented people, creating favorable conditions for innovation and intellectual development. 3. Israel is the only country in the world that has successfully revived a dead language. After a long time, the Jewish community began to use other languages, and Hebrew was used only for religious matters. However, with the rise of Jewish nationalism, Hebrew was revived and is now the country's official language. In contrast, Aramaic is almost extinct and is only spoken in a few localities in Syria. Both languages are written from right to left and top to bottom. The Old Testament was written in Hebrew, and many common names such as Sarah, Mary, Anna, Michael, John, or Raphael are derived from this language. 4. Zahal is the name of the Israel Defense Forces, an army that has never lost a war despite its small population. Israel has one of the most powerful armies in the world, surpassing many countries with larger populations such as Canada, Spain, Vietnam, Thailand, Mexico, and Argentina. The Israeli army is always in the top 20 most powerful in the world and is the only country in this group with a population of less than 10 million people. It is believed that Israel has between 80 and 400 nuclear warheads and the ability to use them via aircraft, submarine-launched missiles, and medium-range and intercontinental ballistic missiles. Israel also excels in the design and production of drones, such as the Heron TP, Hermes 900, Tactical Heron, and Bird-Eye 650. 5. If you come to Israel, walk the streets of Jerusalem or stroll on the beaches of Tel Aviv. If you see people with weapons, don't panic, because military service is mandatory here. It is common for Israeli men and women to carry out daily activities while carrying weapons and wearing military uniforms. Men must serve a minimum of 32 months and women must serve for 24 months. They can serve in many different units, such as mountaineering units, underwater combat units, Shayatet 13 units, Sayeret Matkal, Skylark units, Yahalom units, and many others. 6. Among Israel's special units, Shayatet 13 stands out for its expertise in maritime sabotage, intelligence, boarding rescues, and land and sea infiltration. Another unit is Skylark, which specializes in operating drones for reconnaissance, surveillance, rescue, search, or transportation. In addition, there are other elite units that have participated in all wars and operations since their establishment in 1982. The operations of this unit are classified, and according to Israel, they can locate and destroy targets 12.4 miles away. 7. Israel is one of the most technologically advanced countries, with more than 4,000 companies operating in this field. Of the 500 largest technology companies in the world, 60 are from Israel, second only to the United States and China. Israeli companies and employees have made important contributions to the hardware and product development of leading corporations such as Apple, Google, Intel, and Microsoft. This is partly due to the government's significant investment in research, its excellent education system, and the high competitiveness of the country and its people. 8. Israel is the second country in terms of the rate of students attending university, only behind Canada. Universities in Israel are leading teaching and research centers, encouraging students to actively participate in research and develop startup projects. Local culture places great importance on education, and adults always encourage children to learn and develop from a young age. This creates a positive educational environment where the value of education is emphasized. 9. In Israel, there are some things you should avoid doing or need to know. First, politics should not be discussed due to the complex history and long conflicts of Israel and the Jewish people. This is a sensitive topic that can lead to misunderstandings. Second, you need to understand kosher food, following Jewish tradition. According to kosher law, only ruminants with cloven hooves are allowed to eat, while camel and pork are prohibited. These animal products are also not allowed to be consumed. Additionally, kosher rules require that meat and dairy products not be mixed, and that they must be prepared in separate kitchens. Finally, according to Orthodox Jewish law, Orthodox Jews are not allowed to have contact with members of the opposite sex, with the exception of spouses, relatives, or children. 10. It is very important not to explore nature in Israel on your own. This is a conflict-ridden country, and there can be hidden dangers. You should also dress conservatively and avoid revealing things because there are many places considered sacred. Furthermore, do not carry books or religious works in Arabic, as that may attract suspicion. 11. The Hebrew calendar is a calendar system based on the movement of the moon around the earth with a combination of solar and lunar elements. This system determines the month based on the cycles of the moon, while the year is calculated based on the cycle of the earth around the sun. The calendar begins at the time described in Genesis, the first book of the Torah and Old Testament, and integrates astronomical methods with mathematical operations. For example, the year 2020 in the Gregorian calendar is equivalent to the year 5780 in the Hebrew calendar. 12. Yom Kippur is the holiest day in Judaism, known as the Day of Repentance and Atonement. This holiday falls on the 10th day of the month Tishrei, according to the Jewish calendar. During the 25 hours of Yom Kippur, Jews observe a ritual fast to show repentance for the mistakes of the past year. Although some Jews do not observe this tradition, the streets are quiet and shops and restaurants are often closed, reflecting the respect and seriousness of this holiday. 13. When you eat at a restaurant in Israel, leaving a tip is expected, as servers often rely more on tips than on their base salary. If you are satisfied with the service, you should typically leave about 15% of the total meal value or even more. In case you are not satisfied with the service, the minimum tip should be 10% to reflect your dissatisfaction. 14. Jerusalem is the official capital of Israel, and like the rest of the country, the city is considered a holy land. During the 1967 Six-Day War, Israel captured the eastern part of Jerusalem and declared the city its eternal and undivided capital. To protest this annexation, many United Nations countries moved their embassies from Jerusalem to Tel Aviv, Israel's financial center. However, in 2018, by order of President Donald Trump, the U.S. Embassy was moved to Jerusalem. 15. Jerusalem is a holy city for three major religions in the world: Christianity, Islam, and Judaism. For Muslims, Jerusalem is the third holiest city after Mecca and Medina. According to Islamic tradition, this is where the Prophet Muhammad was taken to heaven on the night of his ascension, and where Muslims were supposed to face when praying before heading towards Mecca. 16. When visiting Israel, you should be aware that etiquette rules may change depending on who you interact with. While the population mainly behaves in a Western manner, there is still a significant Muslim community with its own practices. In particular, Muslims consider the left hand to be impure and used only for personal hygiene purposes, different from the habits of Jews or Christians. 17. In Jerusalem, on the Mount of Olives, you will find one of the oldest Jewish cemeteries in the world. This cemetery is still in use and contains more than 150,000 graves, some of which are over 1,000 years old. 18. The Western Wall, commonly known as the Wailing Wall, is the holiest site in Judaism, located in Jerusalem. Built in 19 BC under King Herod the Great, this was once the remains of the Temple of Jerusalem, which was destroyed by the Babylonians and then the Romans. Some Jews consider the term Wailing Wall offensive and prefer the name Western Wall. Each year, more than 9 million personal prayers and wishes are left here. These notes were collected by a rabbi twice a year and burned near the Mount of Olives. 19. The Israeli Postal Service has a special service for letters to God. These letters, sent from all over the world, were sent to a special department in Jerusalem. Here, the letters were opened and placed in the cracks of the Western Wall. Each year, nearly 1 million letters are processed this way. 20. In Jerusalem, the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, also known as the Church of the Resurrection, is the holiest site in Christianity. This is said to be where Jesus' tomb was located after his crucifixion. Although there is no official authority governing the entrance, the right to open and close the building has belonged to two Arab families for centuries. Today, the Nusbeh family and the Al Ghurair family, who belong to the Muslim and Judean communities, continue to guard this privilege. 21. Inside the Church of the Resurrection in Jerusalem, there is a small structure called the etiquette, which is said to contain the tomb of Jesus Christ. The cave inside this church was discovered by the Romans, and the church was built during the reign of Emperor Constantine. The sacred stone of the tomb, where for centuries Christians have made pilgrimages, has been covered for a long time. Recently, it was exposed so that the walls could be admired through a window, allowing worshipers and visitors the opportunity to see this important monument. 22. According to the Bible, Jesus was born in Bethlehem, about 6.2 miles south of Jerusalem. The Church of the Nativity in Bethlehem was built on the site where Jesus is said to have been born. Today, the church is open to the public, and there are often long lines of people waiting to visit the cave where Jesus was born. This is a sacred destination that attracts millions of worshipers from all over the world. 23. In Israel, the Jewish community is very diverse in race and origin. There are Ashkenazi Jews, originating from Germany and parts of Central and Eastern Europe. Sephardic Jews are descendants of people expelled from the Iberian Peninsula during the reign of Catholic kings. The Mizrahi community includes Jews of Middle Eastern and North African descent. There are also African Jews from Ethiopia, known as Black Israelites. This diversity creates a rich picture of culture and heritage in Israeli society today. 24. Maya Sharim is an ideologically unique neighborhood in West Jerusalem, notable for its ultra-Orthodox Haredi Jewish community. Here, you will easily identify local residents through their typical black clothes, combined with hats and bushy beards. The neighborhood's long, winding sidewalks, known as poos, create a clear picture of this community's lifestyle and traditions. 25. The hat that Jewish men often wear is called a kippah, made from fabric or wool. This hat is not only a part of the outfit, but also plays an important role in spiritual life, reminding the wearer that God is always above them. Kippah helps maintain humility and personal connection to one's faith. 26. The birth rate in Israel is quite high compared to other developed countries, with an average of nearly 3 children per woman. Family support policies and cultural and religious factors all contribute to this. In the Haredi Jewish community in particular, having multiple children is common, with some women having up to 7 children. Although religious culture and social norms promote marriage and childbearing, this also drives population growth, even among working and older women. Therefore, Israel is one of the developed countries that has seen rapid population growth, something that many countries such as Spain, Italy, Greece, Japan, and South Korea are struggling with due to low birth rates and population crises. 27. The average salary in Israel is now more than $3,000 per month, or about 12,000 Israeli shekels. Although this figure is higher than the global average, the cost of living here is no less expensive. A common belief that all Jews are rich is often incorrect. In fact, this belief may have been amplified by propaganda from some groups and countries. Although there are many famous and successful Jewish individuals such as Sergey Brin, founder of Google, and Mark Zuckerberg, founder of Facebook, within the Jewish community in the United States, only about 4 or 5% are wealthy or average, and about 10% have below average income. 28. Israel has some of the most interesting elevation and depth extremes on Earth. The lowest freshwater lake is the Sea of Galilee, which has a maximum depth of 157 feet and lies 695 feet below sea level. If you want to explore the lowest saltwater lake on the planet, visit the Dead Sea, which lies 1,127 feet below sea level. Both of these locations not only attract tourists, but are also unique destinations to experience the diversity of Israel's geography. 29. Hanukkah, also known as the Festival of Lights, is an important event in Israel, commemorating the dedication of Jerusalem's Second Temple and the Maccabean Revolt. The festival lasts 8 days, starting in late November or December, depending on the Jewish lunar calendar. During the festival, the 9 candles on the menorah, the symbol that appears on the country's coat of arms, are lit, creating a solemn and brilliant atmosphere. 30. During the Hanukkah holiday, also known as the Festival of Lights, Israelis consume about 23 million sufganiyot. These are round donuts, fried first and then stuffed with jam or cream and covered with sugar. This dish is not only a part of tradition, but also a festive joy. 31. Israel has the most museums in the world per capita, with 280 active museums. Major museums such as the Tel Aviv Museum of Art, the Tower of David in Jerusalem, and the Underwater Observatory attract millions of visitors each year. From art to archaeology and science, each museum contributes to enriching the cultural experience of this country. 32. Israel owns a structure similar to Stonehenge, the archaeological site Gilgal Rephaim, also known as Ruhum El Hir in Arabic. This is a series of concentric circles, ending in a mound about 4.5 meters high, made up of more than 42,000 basalt stones dating back more than 5,000 years. This relic is not only an important part of archaeological history, but also an attractive destination for those who love to explore the mysteries of the past. 33. In the city of Ashkelon, the largest ancient dog cemetery was discovered, with more than 300 dog skeletons. The majority of these skeletons belong to the Canaanite breed, and they were buried between the 5th and 3rd centuries BC. This discovery not only provides insight into the customs and activities of ancient residents, but is also an important highlight in archaeological research of the area. 34. The Jewish holiday of Passover, also known as Pesach in Hebrew, commemorates the liberation of the Jews from slavery in Egypt. The festival begins on the 14th day of the Hebrew month Nisan and lasts for 7 days. During this time, the consumption of foods made from fermented grains called hametz was prohibited. Instead, people eat unleavened bread, called matzah, as part of the holiday tradition. 35. When a boy or girl reaches the age considered personally mature, Israelis celebrate a bar mitzvah or bat mitzvah. This is a special ceremony in which the child publicly reads the Jewish scriptures, that is, the Torah. For boys, the age to be considered mature and responsible for their actions is 13 years old, and for girls, it is 12 years old. Bar mitzvah and bat mitzvah not only mark an important milestone in life, but are also an important part of Jewish religious tradition. 36. In Israel, all homes must have a security room or merkav mugan, capable of protecting against attacks by chemical and biological weapons. This regulation was established after the 1991 Persian Gulf War, when Israel was attacked by Iraqi Scud missiles. This security department not only ensures protection for residents in the event of an emergency, but also reflects the heightened concern for safety amid the unstable geopolitical situation. 37. Despite its relatively low population, the country has produced 8 Nobel Prize-winning scientists and 1 Nobel Prize-winning writer in literature. Furthermore, the country leads the world in the number of scientific publications per capita. These achievements not only reflect excellence in research and development, but also demonstrate the country's outstanding contribution to the global knowledge base. 38. In Israel, there is no civil marriage. Although Israel's Ministry of the Interior recognizes civil marriages performed outside the country's borders, the only marriages recognized within the country are religious marriages, regardless of the religion the parties practice. This means that no matter what kind of marriage you have abroad, to be recognized in Israel, the marriage must comply with religious regulations. 39. Lunar New Year in Israel, also known as Rosh Hashanah, is celebrated in September or October, depending on the Tishrei month of the Hebrew calendar. This holiday commemorates the day Elohim, or God, created the world. The festival begins with the sound of the shofar, a horn made from sheep's horn, during morning prayers. Candles are lit and parties are held to welcome the new year. 40. Paul Wine is Israel's oldest wine brand, first produced by the Palestine Wine and Trading Company, founded in 1898. Paul Wine's different wines are distinguished by numbers corresponding to different bus routes in Israel. 41. Tel Aviv, known as the White City, is a UNESCO World Heritage Site thanks to the more than 4,000 Bauhaus, or international-style buildings built here in the 1930s and 1940s. Tel Aviv is the city with the largest number of Bauhaus buildings in the world. 42. The seventh day of the week, also the holiest day in Israel, is the Sabbath. This day begins at sunset on Friday and lasts until the 3 stars appear on Saturday night. During this period, all work is prohibited, out of respect, and rest is customary. 43. Israel has a unique self-defense martial art called Krav Maga, also known as contact fighting. This is the official combat and self-defense system used by Israel's defense and security forces. Krav Maga was developed by Amy Lichtenfeld, a Jew of Czechoslovak origin, in the 1930s. This martial art is not only famous for its effectiveness in actual combat, but also because its development is closely linked to history and Israel's security needs. 44. In the Malha neighborhood in Jerusalem, there is a special zoo called the Biblical Zoo, where you can meet animals mentioned in the Hebrew Bible. In addition to displaying these animals, the zoo is also famous for its success in breeding endangered animals. This is not only an interesting destination for those who love animals, but also a place to preserve and research rare animals. 45. Famous German scientist Albert Einstein, an icon of science, was Jewish. In 1952, he was offered the position of President of Israel, but declined. The reason he gave was because he felt he did not have both the innate ability and the necessary experience to deal effectively with human problems. 46. Due to the prohibition of cooking on the Sabbath, Israelis often use slow cooking methods to prepare dishes in advance, so that the dish remains warm. 2 popular dishes in this case are Ashkenazi cholent and Sephardic haman, or shaman. These dishes are cooked in advance and kept warm throughout the Sabbath. 47. In Israel, you can find the second largest sauna in the entire Roman Empire, located at Hamat Gadar. This is an ancient bathing complex more than 2,000 years old, where spa lovers can relax in the style of the ancient period. 48. Makkot, or rackets in Hebrew, is a very popular racket game in Israel, similar to beach tennis. Israelis often consider it their national beach sport, and the game often takes place along the country's beaches. 49. Israelis have a word for easily manipulated people, frayer, which means fool. Israelis pay great attention to always achieving the best, from the cheapest price, best quality to fastest route. They are always looking to optimize everything to get the best possible results. 50. Across Israel, there are 180 McDonald's, but only 50 of them are kosher supervised, so they are closed on the Sabbath and Jewish holidays. The world's first kosher McDonald's opened in Mavaseret Zion in October 1995. 51. In Israel, you will find one of the few underwater restaurants in the world, Red Sea Star. Located about 5 meters above the Red Sea, this restaurant can accommodate up to 105 diners. 52. Israel is the only country in the world that has more crops than it did 50 years ago. This is thanks to the country's environmental policy, turning desert lands into gardens and green forests. 53. Israel is one of the few countries without an official constitution. Instead, basic laws passed by the Knesset, or Israeli parliament, serve as chapters of a future constitution. Currently, there is still no consensus on writing such an official document. 54. In Acre, once the last great stronghold of the Crusaders in the Holy Land, you can explore the corridors and tunnels built by the Knights Templar. Thank you for your interest in following story. If you feel interesting, you can click channel subscription button, turns on notification bell, and share. And now I would like to say goodbye. And don't forget to suggest topics I can cover in videos next. Please say thank you.